I want you to know, as soon as you hit record, my brain started playing Scatman.
Why?
I don't know. My brain just went, oh, we need to do something serious? Boop, 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 boop. And I was like, yes, serious. My brain was like, nope, not gonna do it.
I want you to know the moment you started to do a Scatman, my brain didn't hear that because you did beep and boops, and instead my brain just started playing Star Wars Cantina music performed by the Jizz Whalers.
Yes. Back when the music was called Jizz.
Yeah, it's always Jizz. I don't give a fuck what you said, just Star Wars people.
Disney, actually, it's Disney.
Yeah, Disney is now Star Wars people.
Anyways, welcome to Inside the Cockpit, the once-a-month interstitial content we release in between review episodes. I think you probably already know because we've been doing this for 5 fucking years now.
Or I think you don't know, because you don't give a fuck. And why would you? I don't either.
Which makes sense, because we've been doing this for 5 fucking years now.
Yeah, we'll assume that's a recent development.
Alright, so typically on the interstitial, we talk about things we've been watching, reading, media we've been engaging with, and just general life things. For instance, Final Fantasy's coming to Magic the Gathering.
And it's gross.
It's beautiful. It's probably like...
I'm talking about Universes Beyond. General's gross.
Well, we were talking in the EDH Discord I'm a part of last night.
Yeah.
About how, like, by the end of the year, standard is going to be Final Fantasy, Spider-Man, Avatar The Last Airbender, and then some Magic the Gathering properties.
Yeah.
But, like, by the end of the year, you'll have Avatar Aang attacking Professor Osborne while you cast Murder featuring Sephiroth on the art. Like...
Honestly, they should just accept the fact that they want to be universes.
Well, we actually talked about this last night as well in the Discord. Universes Beyond, as far as like full sets of non-magic property, hit market over a year before Universes came out. And in Chris's mind, what happened is WotC was like, we're publishing Duel Masters in the Japanese market. We're not the best game. We're not the best-selling game in the Japanese market. Why not? What's the best-selling game in the Japanese market? Oh, Weiss Schwarz is the best-selling game in the Japanese market. Why is Weiss Schwarz the best-selling game in the Japanese market? Oh, because it caters to all these fan properties.
Yeah.
And people buy those up. Why is nobody doing this in the West? Why is nobody catering to fan properties to like create a better engagement with non-player buyers?
Yeah. And
then we got Lord of the Rings. And then we're getting, first we got Walking Dead, and then we got full set Lord of the Rings, and now we're getting Final Fantasy. And so in a lot of ways they beat Universes to market with that idea in the West, and Universes is still being very niche, and that it's specifically anime, whereas WotC is doing Final Fantasy, Lord of the Rings, Marvel.
Anything that will pair with them and give them money.
Avatar The Last Airbender, Warhammer 40k, Doctor Who, Fallout. Essentially anything that's like cachet with their name value and are a big enough property to draw people in and will pay to be advertised through Magic the Gathering. Those factors all align to create what is now Magic the Gathering.
Yeah.
But I'm actually really excited about the Final Fantasy set. It's the first time I've been interested in buying Magic cards since Doctor Who Magic cards, which is...
I would like to say Universes has a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle set, a Critical Role set, a Street Fighter set. So more than just anime.
I apologize, and I was wrong, to do that, and I will release a ukulele song on YouTube in a couple weeks.
They also have a Godzilla set.
Talking about how wrong I was to do that.
You should.
So, outside of Magic the Gathering, because I know you're not a big Magic the Gathering fan, and I don't really have much more to say than that I'm excited for Final Fantasy, and I think a lot of the cards look really cool. I want to build like 3 different commander decks based on legendary creatures they're spoiling. Cecil from Final Fantasy IV looks like a lot of fun as a commander. Kefka, the mad clown from Final Fantasy 6? 9? 6. I forget. Holy shit.
You're right, it's 6.
6. I thought it was
Kuja,
6.
The other guy who looks like a mad clown, is from 9.
And 9 and 6 are maybe related tangentially through their stories. Maybe. But...
So, I don't know about its earlier history, but I was fairly certain. So, Universes was a rebrand of Universal Fighting System, which was a card game before. I think it still had other properties, which is why I was convinced when I first saw the game that I'd seen the game before.
Yeah, they closed it and then relaunched it as Universes. Kind of like how Battle Spirits got a relaunch and then died again.
So, I mean, they've been doing the gimmick that they have now for, like, decades.
Yeah, except they failed and had a rebrand.
They failed in the West. I mean, they were still doing pretty well in Japan and stuff, from my understanding.
You said they were being challenged by Weiss Schwarz in the East, and we're like killing it.
Yeah, I think the rebrand was really because when Fantasy Flight took over stuff.
Yeah, it's like how Marvel Recharge had 3 different eras with different cards being printed.
Yeah.
But outside of trading card games, I saw a TikTok while I was using the bathroom before we started recording. Mm-hmm. It brought up a conversation idea in my head that I think we can have a decent conversation about, because I know you have way more information than me on one half of this subject. But Justice.
Yes.
Let's say we take a Knight Radiant, order of your choice.
Okay.
Give them unlimited Stormlight.
Okay.
And put them in a deathmatch against a Mistborn with unlimited medals. Who wins? It's going to be very hard to kill a Knight Radiant who has unlimited Stormlight. Like, nearly impossible.
So we are putting them where?
Deathmatch
where? I need the environment. I actually need this for one specific possible outcome.
Does it need to be Roshar?
No. Though, I mean, technically to use their powers, but we're assuming their powers will operate outside of Roshar, because depending on the Radiant, if it's a Windrunner, I think if you have an open sky, even if they're a full misting, they die.
I don't think so.
They fall out of the atmosphere.
I don't think so. I don't think a Night Radiant can do shit against a full-blood Mistborn.
Or if we go with, I can't remember the name of it, but there's basically ones that you have, if we go with the Dustbringer, from my understanding, they split atoms.
Yeah, I still don't think they have a chance against a Mistborn.
They can split a person's atoms.
Don't think they have a chance against a Mistborn with unlimited metal. A-Team's doing a lot of heavy lifting here. A-Team and Duralium?
Yeah, but the thing is...
And Bend?
Yeah, but you're saying they both have unlimited things. The Radiant...
So, for non-Cosmere fans, I'm going to go ahead and go through the metals I just listed. A-Team lets Mistborns effectively see the future actions an enemy will take.
Yes.
Duralium boosts any metal you're using. If they have unlimited of all their metals, that means they can be constantly flaring Duralium, making the A-Team even stronger. And then if they also have Bend Alloy lets them create bubbles of slow time where they can move faster or slower depending on if the enemy is also in the bubble with them.
Yeah.
I think between those three things, Mistborns are basically untouchable.
Yeah, but your issue here is you have put them literally against an unkillable foe.
Yeah, because as long as they have Stormlight,
they can't die.
Pretty much can't die.
Bye.
I'm pretty sure if you hit them with their own blade or cut their head off, they die. But otherwise, I
don't think you'd be able to hit them with their own blade.
That's true.
And cutting their head off, maybe. But I mean, also, so if they're fighting the Dustbringer, they would just be atomized.
Dustbringer is powerful.
Even if they don't hit the person, they can, from my understanding, we don't have a lot on them, but it seems that they can split atoms. From the vague way it's described, they could ostensibly just split said atom at feet, and then you have a nuclear explosion, well, an atomic explosion. Or if we go, I can't remember what they are. Oh, a Will Shaper. They could just pop into the cognitive realm.
That's strong.
And pull another person into the cognitive realm and then leave.
Very strong.
And I don't think most Mistings are equipped to deal with the cognitive realm off rip.
Unlimited metals, I don't think they would die in the cognitive realm, though. You've got unlimited pewter breathing.
Yeah.
Pewter lets you surpass your body's physical limits, strength, endurance, tiredness, all that stuff. Doesn't matter if you're pumping pewter.
Fair, but if they don't know how to interact with the beads.
In the cognitive realm, all physical objects are represented by beads that are their souls, and land and water are inverted. So if you're in an area where there should be land, assuming that's where you're fighting, instead you're above an ocean in the cognitive realm, and that ocean is made out of beads.
Yeah, so they could have an innumerable amount of metals for themselves to consume, right?
I assume when it said unlimited metals that they don't need to consume them, that they're already
Okay, so they have no metals to pull or push against.
Yeah.
Once they're in the cognitive realm. And from the descriptions of it, you can't really swim in the beads. You kind of they're like shade balls almost, from their description of how I would see them. You're just going to drown in it. Fighting will increase the resistance. It's like quicksand almost. I do
remember a character mentioning walking across the bottom of the ocean of the cognitive realm.
The person that does that does not breathe, does not exist, is not a living creature.
I think, hear me out,
is technically living, but does not operate on any human standards.
I think a Mistborn Duralium pumping pewter doesn't count as a living creature in those manners either. He's they're going to be unkillable.
Yeah, maybe.
You'd have to literally destroy their heart or brain to drop them down. Because we've seen pewter arms get their heart hit and still keep going.
Fair. I just don't think there's a good, I don't think you're going to get a resolution to a fight like that.
Yeah, I think the real issue is Stormlight does make them pretty much unkillable.
Yeah.
I think the Mistborn is the more insanely offensive weapon.
You're also talking about the most powerful form of a Mistborn, but you're not talking about the most powerful form of a person using Sprint.
Or you're also not talking about the most powerful form of a person using metals.
Yes.
Because in that case, you'd want a dual blood, somebody like the Emperor
and
himself.
If we're talking about a Radiant, you want someone with a Nile bond, which I don't know if you entirely know what that is.
I know there's a difference between Nile and whatever the bond is that most
it's people with people who have multiple sprints.
Yeah, because the Nile bond is mentioned in Tress.
Yeah, or you want one of the my brains. One of the Knights Radiant, the OG, the Honor Blade people.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about, but I'm also forgetting the title.
So, but even then, I think it really depends on the Knights Radiants, and we don't see a bunch of them. We get kind of told they do, but we don't see to a degree what they can do. We definitely have more of what people with elementic powers can do than we have what different forms of Radiance can do.
So does it matter if the Mistborn has a gun?
I don't think so.
No, the Dustbringer just atomizes the bullet.
Ostensibly.
Are Dustbringers like that scene in X-Men 3 where Jean Grey is just walking and the X-Men are like
I don't know. I've
particulating?
seen one Dustbringer fight,
Okay.
and the person hadn't used their powers really ever before that point because their sprint was like, no, don't do that. Don't use those powers.
Okay, because that's how I'm imagining a full-blown, like, unlimited Stormlight Dustbringer, like, working. It's just Jean Grey walking through
However,
atomizing the X-Men.
on an entirely another thing, I don't think, no matter who they are, they could defeat, like, the most powerful fucking edge dancer. Because at basically their peak, they have no friction. So even hitting them with the bullet would hit their skin and then basically just divert its entire course, bleeding its momentum off of them. You would go to touch them, you wouldn't be able to, like, make any form of actual physical, meaningful contact.
What if we take Kaladin with Unlimited Stormlight and a Mistborn with Unlimited Stormlight?
I can't answer this question.
No, because I think the Mistborn just wins via emotional allomancy.
I cannot answer this question. There are developments with Kaladin and what Kaladin is capable of within a book you have not read.
Fair enough. I was just thinking we could make Kaladin...
No, wouldn't work. The man resolves his trauma and it's terrifying.
That's unfortunate. Kaladin being depressed is one of my favorite memes from the entire Cosmere.
I mean, he would probably relapse. So we ended at a high point, so I'm going to say he's resolved his trauma completely.
All right. Yeah, I saw that. I thought we could get a little bit of room out of it, a little bit of talking, and I think we did.
Yeah.
If you could have a single form of investiture from the Cosmere and it would work for you on Earth, and you had access to the energy source for your investiture, what would you pick?
Dude, I'm being fucking blessed with the Rayode.
Yeah, that's fair.
I got gold skin, shiny hair, and all I could do is draw an image that represents a land, like the land, that has a tie to it, which I would assume a generic expression of the Earth.
Well, it actually, there's the alphabet for that is written down. Like,
yeah, but also, like, part of its structure has to do with the...
You'd still have to draw the world from...
Would I?
Yeah, because it's tied to specifically that
That's
city.
fine. There's illustrations of it. It's not hard.
Yeah. Like I said, that entire alphabet exists. You'd be good.
And as long as I'm not dealing with the Shayode portion of it, I'm fine.
So he's talking about stuff from the book of Laundress. The Rayode essentially makes you a living god and gives you access to magic glyphs that you can draw in the air to do stuff.
You also don't die and don't get sick.
Good choice.
But there are ways for them to stop existing if they want to, so.
I think I'd want to be not a Mistborn, but the equivalent...
Feruchemist?
The equivalent of a Feruchemist.
Fair.
Where Feruchemy is a magic from the books of Mistborn, where instead of consuming metal to get power, you could take human attributes and store them in metal.
I changed my mind. I would like to have soul stamp powers.
Soul stamps.
And because in the world that this posits, this power becomes a part of this because of this conversation, and soul stamps they just need to be things that makes a reasonable amount of sense to have happened to change your life.
Yeah. You could then...
I would have a soul stamp based off this conversation. That way I could stamp myself to change my powers to any one of the powers in the future.
So soul stamps let you alter the history of an object or thing so that they become something new.
But you have to know it intimately. You have to know basically everything about it for it to stay, for it to exist permanently.
So in the use case of it within the books I've read so far, the soul stamp user was able to turn a wall into a door by suggesting that suggesting in the past when the people created it, it had always been a door.
Yeah.
Via the stamp. But you can soul stamp yourself to change your own personal history.
Or other people. It's much easier with yourself. Technically forbidden in the books of the world, but you can do it to yourself much easier because you know yourself assumedly better than other people do. And you can technically do it to someone else, but it's very, very hard because the less you know of something about its history and everything that basically makes it, the harder it is to influence it.
Whereas the thing I said, which would give me the power of metal mind, storing human attributes in metal, would be letting you if you wanted to go to sleep, you could take wakefulness and make yourself very sleepy by storing your wakefulness, your energy, your ability to be awake into a metal band.
It's fine. I slept earlier.
He just mimicked soul stamping himself, so he slept earlier. Or you could take health and store it in a metal mind, making yourself temporarily have the sniffles and essentially be suffering allergies, so that in the future you could heal yourself from actual bodily damage.
I do assume out of all of this, though, we are talking about the base forms of investiture that people use, not things like shards.
I'm not assuming that you can be a dual blood either. You can't have you can't have metal minds and also be a
I also can't literally be a splinter of a god.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that's technically a form of investiture, so I just want to make sure.
Because if we were talking any of them, obviously you could be a splinter of god, or you could be a gold, whatever they're called.
Yeah, gold Feruchemist.
A gold Feruchemist / Mistine. So that because if you're a gold Feruchemist and Mistine, eating gold does not do a whole bunch.
No.
But if you can eat and burn a metal, gold lets you see the potential futures.
Yep.
or I guess the potential presence of other people if they had made different choices in their life.
Yes.
But by burning a metal that you've invested a human attribute into, you get multiple times the amount of thing that you invested into it back.
Yeah.
So for a gold dueling like that, you invest your health into the gold, and you eat the gold, and you get more health than you invested, and so you're essentially immortal.
Yeah. But I'd go with soul stamps, because this conversation means I could then come back reasonably use a soul stamp to be anything else.
Yeah, I get it. Like, yeah, soul stamps are very powerful. I've only seen them used by one character.
That's the only time we've ever seen them used.
Okay.
That is just that one story that takes place in the world of Elantris. Maybe we'll get more stuff when we get returned to Elantris, who knows?
Elantris didn't have soul stamps. It was Mistborn Era 2.
You have not read. Okay.
So there's a second use of Emperor's Soul is the other book. Is the
short story. That's what I was talking about.
Yeah, I haven't read that yet.
I forgot it showed up in Mistborn.
Yeah.
It wasn't nearly as cool there. I mean, it's still very neat, but it was minor uses compared to what I've seen, so.
I apologize to all our listeners who are not invested in the Cosmere.
You should be. I don't apologize. You're the ones in the wrong here.
Because these last two conversations have been absolutely useless to you.
You're the ones in the wrong. Fix yourselves.
Anyways, other than my Cosmere-related conversations, do you have anything you wanted to talk about?
Not really.
Okay.
I haven't done much.
Okay, I have one other topic.
I guess I've been listening to the newest book in James Butcher's Wizard series I can't remember the name of.
Yeah. So James Butcher is the son of Jim Butcher. Jim Butcher is the prolific author that wrote the Dresden Files as well as a bunch of other series. His son is also an author now.
Yes, and honestly, it almost feels like this book series is an audition to be like, hey, Dad, I don't think you're going to finish the Dresden Files before you die. Let me be the author that finishes them. But in all seriousness, they are actually really fucking good, and I've been quite enjoying it. I wasn't certain, because it had been a while, if I would remember enough of what happened in the second book. I remember the first book fairly well, but I couldn't really tell you where the second book started or what all happened in it. But like, legitimately after like a chapter and a half, I was like, oh, I know exactly what the issue was, what was going on. And
his book series, by the way, is called The Unorthodox Chronicles.
I know it was something like Odd, but I couldn't remember what it was called. I mean, literally Odd as in the word, not Odd as in like a weird title.
Yeah, Odd being similar to Unorthodox.
Yes.
Fair enough. So the third book going good?
Yeah.
I know I started the third book and got about a chapter and a half, 2 chapters in and went, oh, I'm just going to have to reread the first 2 books.
You don't remember a thing.
While we're talking about listening to new things,
yeah,
the band Ghost, one of my favorite bands, dropped a new album recently.
Nice.
Called Skeleton, and it is the single worst album Ghost has ever made.
Worse?
I will say, I listened to the entire thing in one sitting, which I do with most albums. Yeah. And like, Peacefield, the first song, was alright. It was a little bit long. The second song Lacrima hit. And I was like, oh, did I just time travel to the 80s? Because, like, that's what it felt like. It didn't just feel like an 80s rock band or a band trying to be 80s. Like, it felt like a temporal shift. And, like, that, high praise. Good job. Lacrima, very good song. The entire rest of the album also managed to carry that 80s vibe throughout it.
Nice.
But the only song that I actually, like, 100%, like, enjoyed and loved was the second to last track called Umbra. And, like, that's the best song on the album.
Yeah.
Nothing else on the album is, like, as good as anything they've done before.
I mean, on that note, Hobo Johnson recently dropped a new album called Hobo Johnson Drinks. And the first track, Jan Sports, it's fucking great. Ballad of the Evil Cat's also really good. And then so is Dairy, Octothorpe, $%, and Metaverse. They're all really great. The entire album's really good, but...
Hobo Johnson doesn't miss.
Yeah.
And I would have said the same thing about Ghost until Skeleton. Yeah.
And the Dairy one, I literally read out like that because in the song, he's talking about a person, and he bleeps the last part of their name. So it's just a bunch of random symbols to be like, the name of it is the name of that person, but we don't have their actual full name.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So I did come to the table with one more conversation piece.
Yeah.
The second season of Nakutagawa's Doctor Who... Nakutagawa's Doctor Who is over halfway over now. 5 episodes out of the 8. What do you think of it so far? You've seen all of the modern Doctor Who minus Jodie Foster's run.
I've seen most of Jodie Foster's run.
Okay.
It's fine. I don't think it's superb, but I think it's fine. There's been some good moments, but
it's not
fine.
It's not a particularly strong season of Doctor Who.
No.
And I can't, lay my finger on what's the weak part about it. Sometimes it feels like the writing's a little off, and other times it feels like the characters just aren't, playing Doctor Who characters.
So, I have a thought, and Nakutagawa's Doctor is very personable and nice.
Yeah.
Perfectly fine.
In Doctor Who canon, he is the post-traumatic stress resolved Doctor because he's from the 14th Doctor's future timeline where he's already resolved his issues.
Yeah.
So he no longer carries that emotional baggage of the previous Doctors.
And that's fine, but it feels like they used that personality to somewhat steamroll forming any actual connection between him and his current companion in the season.
Yeah, a little bit.
They don't really seem, it's just like, oh, we get along. I don't know if they don't feel like they're friends, but they act like it. It's just like, I'm in this situation with a person, that's fine.
And also, I feel...
And there are times, because of that, their dialogue or their responses to certain things feel too overstated. Like they care more than what seemed to be presented in the show.
Yeah, I think they definitely did use that personality reset to, like, bowl over the ties between the companion and the new Doctor. But I think another thing that's been hitting me wrong, especially in this season, is they're giving us, like, this past for Gatwa's Doctor.
Yes.
That we know can't fit into Season 2. Because, like, Season 2, we're seeing every time travel jump that he does. Every jump he does, because that's part of the plot. And they're giving us this past for Gatwa's Doctor from before he had a companion.
Yeah.
Which doesn't fit into Season 2. And while there is, like, time where he could have done jumps, time travels, and adventures off-screen in Season 1, most of those would have been with Ruby Sunday.
Yeah.
So where is this past he has?
It would have had to be before he was doing doctor-y thing.
Well, yeah, and if it was before he was doing stuff with Ruby in Season 1, then his personality as that Doctor wasn't solidified yet, because he literally is still struggling with who he is in the early episodes with Ruby.
Yep. Or it was in between Seasons 1 and 2, because he does spend time at a time hotel, and we don't actually know what he's doing in between things.
That's fair.
Like, we know he spends a year somewhere, but the thing with the Doctor is, it could be like a day, but he could do centuries worth of things.
Yeah, and, like, that's always made sense in previous seasons, because every other companion, other than Belinda, the new companion, every other companion has off-screen adventures with the Doctor. Stuff that happens with the Doctor that doesn't ever get talked about or shown on screen, except in, like, vague hints or, like, as references or jokes. Belinda doesn't have that, because Belinda's story is literally them trying to, like, get her back to her time.
Yes.
And so we're seeing every step of the way.
It is also possible that they're making references that are meant to be references to early Doctor stuff, but I don't think they are things that have actively happened that people saw. But they could be like, because one of the big things that a few characters have referenced, it's entirely possible that they're not this version of the Doctor who done those things.
Well, yeah. Like, specifically, the most recent episode references a time the Doctor competed with a bet with the story guard Anasi and won his daughter's hand in marriage.
Yeah.
But it wasn't this Doctor, Gatwa. It was the return of the Rogue Doctor.
Yes.
Which was cool to see the Rogue Doctor back on screen, because she's kind of been off screen since the end of her short story arc in Jodie Foster's era, but it doesn't, like, add to Gatwa's past. And I'm not quite sure how I feel about all of these, like, references to these specific gods in the most recent episode, because while Doctor Who is canonized, at least in the new era, that there are gods outside of time.
Yes.
Like the Trickster and so on. The more mortal gods, the gods humans have created to justify stuff in our existence and our past, have never been, like, a canonical feature of Doctor Who.
No, I think there's been, like, some references here and there once or twice.
And so
but it's always been hard to tell if the Doctor was joking about some things or not.
So I'm not sure if, like, the reason why these gods, Anasi, Loki, Thor, if these gods exist because of the current, like, trajectory where magic and goblins and stuff exist, or if that's supposed to have always been a canonical past of the Doctor, which is fine. It's fine that as a viewer I'm confused about that. That's not a complaint. The complaint I'm making is I don't know if I like the addition of quote-unquote mortal gods into the pantheon of Doctor Who's gods.
I would agree.
Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about this season. Season 1 of the Disney Plus era was very strong. I love 73 Yards. It's one of my favorite Doctor Who episodes ever.
Trying to remember which one that is.
It's the one where Ruby Sunday has a person following her.
Yes, I remember, yeah.
It's one of my favorite Doctor Who episodes ever. And the fact that it's from the new era means, like, I'm always going to feel, like, at least a little bit positive to the new era, no matter how badly it ends up going.
Yeah.
But this new season, like, nothing's, like, struck me that strong. When they did do the, like, reveal of that they were on the planet Midnight again, I did pop for that. Like,
you did very hard.
But that's been the only moment of this season where I've been like, oh yeah, and then, like, even that, like, if the pop is high, but, like, the rest of the episode was not as high as that pop.
I would agree.
But yeah, there's 3 more episodes left in this season of Doctor Who, so.
But, like,
I also think that's a larger issue at hand, but we're only getting 8 episode seasons, and so, like, especially with this Belinda story arc where, like, she started off angry at him and now she's, like, chasing after him to, like, make sure he's safe.
Yeah.
We haven't actually seen that development of her character because we've had 5 episodes, and
yeah.
Like,
the Think Tank episode wasn't bad.
The Think Tank?
That was the name of the group that's like aliens aren't
real.
It's all
episode 4.
It's all a lie, yeah.
I did like that episode.
It was pretty good.
Mm-hmm. was very heavy-handed in its political messaging, but Doctor Who
yeah.
does that, so like not upsetting in the slightest.
Also, as a bonus, it brought back Ruby,
Mm-hmm.
who was a good companion.
I like Ruby as a companion.
Mhm.
I wish we'd do more with her. Like,
Yeah, one season was kind of a letdown.
8 episodes plus
Yeah.
the story, like plus the
movie.
The Christmas episodes in the movies, yeah. So
The Christmas episode, she was only in the first one.
oh yeah.
Then it was Joy in the next one.
Yep, you're
For
right.
the Time Hotel.
I liked Joy.
Joy was fun.
I haven't liked Belinda.
No, not really.
And again, it's
She hasn't really done anything.
Mm-hmm. Joy had more personality in one episode, one special, than Belinda's had across 5.
Yeah.
Which is disappointing.
Mhm.
But I'm hoping that... So this is behind the scenes stuff about Doctor Who right now, in that we don't know if Gatwa's going to do another season.
Yeah.
We don't know if Davis is doing another season. And it's because Disney only signed a 2-year contract with BBC to do. And so they can't actually renew until Disney either renews that contract or cancels.
Yeah.
But we know, like, even if Disney cancels, the BBC is not going to let Doctor Who, like, stop.
Nah, it's one of their big things, that and, like, Taskmaster.
So...
And I guess 5 out of 10 cats?
Something like that.
Cat Time? They're panel shows.
So, like, I think if Disney doesn't renew, we're gonna get more seasons with Gatwa.
I think it's 8 out of 10 cats now that I say it out loud.
We're gonna get more seasons with Gatwa and Davies. And I think if Disney doesn't renew, we'll get more seasons with Gatwa and Davies. Either way, we're getting more of them. What I think is more healthy for the show is if Disney doesn't renew it.
Yeah.
Because while the Disney episodes have been highly polished and look very good,
it feels off.
Having only 8 episodes to tell their stories, like overarching stories, has felt bad.
Like, so often Doctor Who will have an overarching story for the season.
Or seasons.
Mm-hmm. But we will have just random episodes here and there where that's not the thing that they're worried about. That's not the thing that's happening. And then we'll get a random episode of, hey, here's big series story. And we might have that up for a few episodes. And then we'll go back to, hey, we're just farting around through the fucking universe, baby.
Because the return of Gallifrey was like 5 or 6 series story.
Yeah, basically.
The Impossible Girl is like a 4 series story that takes place across 2 different doctors.
Yeah.
Bad Wolf takes an entire series, maybe 2 series before we get the entire thing. And like, these plots take a lot of time to build up. And one, if Disney's going, oh, you only have 2 seasons, and those 2 seasons are only 16 episodes, it's not a lot to work with for their storytelling on like
really
a grander
not.
scale. And even more than that, it doesn't let you have the little like, what would technically be like filler episodes, which are so important for like building the Doctor and his companion's relationship.
Yeah. Like, so far the overarching story is, hey, the gods from beyond our universe exist. We've ran into one additional one this season, and hey, there's the lady who breaks the 4th wall.
And she's probably a Time Lord of some sort, even though all the Time Lords are dead again.
Yeah. Or she's a thing from beyond the edge of the universe.
Yeah.
One of the two.
And I like, the thing is, I'm really interested in what they can do with the like whole, oh, you fucked around with the rules of the world, the rules of the universe at the edge of the universe, where the boundary between what is and isn't is very thin.
Yeah.
And how that has changed everything, you know, the mavity of the situation. But I don't like that it feels that they don't have room to tell the story.
Yeah.
And that's really what it comes down to with the Disney Plus era. They don't have room to tell the story. Anyways, I'm really excited to see where the finale goes. A lot of people are theorizing that the new era of Doctor Who, the entire overarching story, is that Gatwa's Doctor isn't real. And like, not in a sense of like, oh, he never bigenerated, but in a sense of, oh, this Gatwa, these 2 seasons have existed within a television show within the television show.
Yeah.
Which is why it's playing by so many different rules. Could be interesting to see where they go with that.
I guess.
I don't know. I like Doctor Who a lot. I've liked a couple of the episodes this season quite a bit, but it's not been as good as the first season.
It just feels off.
I don't know if the first season felt as good as it did because we were coming off of one of the worst seasons of Doctor Who of all time, which I'm not Foster's fault.
Yeah, no. She's not in charge of writing the show.
Mostly Chibnall's fault.
He was in charge of writing the show.
But that last series of Foster's run is just atrocious.
Yeah.
I think, and like, it's atrocious in a way that like we don't talk about in the Disney Plus era, because according to the Chibnall era, over half of the universe ceased to exist.
Gone.
And like, that's not just the universe, it's the time and space that that universe was.
Yep.
Ceased to exist. Gallifrey, which we spent years building up the story for it to come back, was once again completely destroyed.
Yep.
All the Time Lords were turned into Cybermen / Time Lord things that were then destroyed.
Subsequently destroyed. Yeah.
That were then destroyed. I'm sorry. All the Time Lords were turned into Cybermen, Time Lord hybrids that were then destroyed along the fall of Gallifrey, and again half the universe. Oh, and there was this species of entities who like have been at war with an organization the Doctor was a part of.
Yeah.
Since before Doctor Who began, which is why there's a rogue Time Lord, because she ran away from the organization.
Mm-hmm. It was the Ood.
I wish it was the Ood. I miss the Ood.
I do too. The Ood were dope.
But yeah, like, it did all these things that should have massive consequences on the Doctor Who storyline and are mostly being ignored.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyways, I think that's the end of my bitching about Doctor Who. Justice, you got anything else?
No.
We've been watching Lazarus.
Yep. It's good.
I read a review of Lazarus on, I want to say it was IGN, talking about how it was hollow, useless, and basically a knockoff of Watanabe's best work.
Yeah.
And I disagree entirely.
Yeah, I think it's a good show.
It's a good show. Fight scenes are amazing.
Mm-hmm. Good music.
Music's very good. We have a new episode to watch, actually. We haven't watched this week's episode.
Yeah, no, I enjoy the show. I think people are trying to compare their love for characters that they had for like 26 fucking episodes, and that they had room to grow and have like an understanding of the characters as they got more characterization, and are just saying that the show should immediately have that from episode 1, which is basically an impossible task to ask for.
I also think
most shows.
I also think like because the lead character from Cowboy Bebop and the lead character from Lazarus are both physically designed to look like the same actor.
Yeah.
That people are going like, oh, see, he's just trying to redo the same thing. Look at that. They look the same. And it's like, no, Watanabe has like a specific character, like a specific actor who he likes to base his lead characters off of.
Yeah.
The James Dean of Japan, I think is his nickname. But like even his name is Megumi from Champloo, right?
Sure.
What?
Sure.
The lead character from Samurai Champloo.
Also, you asked a question my brain's fucking blanking on now.
Oh, okay. Even he is designed to look similar to this actor. Like, it has nothing to do with Watanabe trying to make Cowboy Bebop again.
Yeah. It's honestly just annoying. Not the show. People.
Yeah. It's this habit of people being like, oh, this is the best thing that this person's made. Obviously, anytime they try to make something that's even remotely similar, they're just trying to recapture the glory of that.
Yeah.
And that's not always the case. People just sometimes want to create new things. Tell new stories.
Wait, people are allowed to do that? He's not based off of Keiichiro Akagagi. He's inspired by Yusaku Matsuda.
Did Carol on Tuesday have this problem when it came out? Because I didn't
No, not really, because it had female leads.
And it was an obviously different story, even though it was still set in the same world.
Is it not? It's questionable.
Because, like, I think that's what people are, like, latching onto, is that Watanabe's series are all
ostensibly set in the same universe.
And they hyped that up going into this season, this show, along with the fact that it was Watanabe's return to, like, sci-fi, and that it had the John Wick action coordinator, and, like, they hyped all this stuff up about Lazarus.
Yeah.
And I think that's what people are backlashing at. Like, it's not that it's actually, like, trying to be Cowboy Bebop, because it's not.
No, that's like trying to say Space Dandy was trying to be Cowboy Bebop. It wasn't.
No, but, like, both of them obviously have, like, their homages to Bebop. But,
yeah.
like,
but so arguably, so you could say Kids on the Slope does too, with its use of jazz.
Well, also, I think even non-Watanabe works have obvious homages to Bebop.
Yeah.
It'd be weird not to. Like, it's
especially
weird.
in Western culture.
Yeah, like, shows also pay homage to One Piece and Dragon Ball Z, not because they're trying to be One Piece or Dragon Ball Z, because One Piece, Dragon Ball Z, Cowboy Bebop, Naruto are, like,
cultural touchstones for the things that they are for like the audience they are appealing to, towards the demographic that it's written for, or for them themselves.
Yeah, like, they're historically relevant pieces of art in the medium.
Yes.
And there are a lot more that we could name. Neon Genesis Evangelion being another one, like Gundam. All these are relevant touchstones for the medium.
Calling this his return to like a sci-fi anime is kind of weird in my opinion.
And disingenuous.
Yeah, because Carol on Tuesday did take place in that. But also, while he was not like entirely behind the show, he was a creative director for the Blade Runner anime that came out in like 2021.
Yeah.
And 4 years, not a gap for anime creators.
Yeah.
So
I've liked Lazarus so far. I'm excited to see where it goes. I don't think it's going to be more than 1 or 2 seasons, just based on like the plot of this.
Yeah, which, guess what? Most of Watanabe's work, 1 or 2 seasons.
Can I tell you a secret deep in my heart? 2 seasons is the perfect length for an anime.
Yeah, it works.
I think Bakuman's like 3 seasons. But
something like that.
If we're sub 4 seasons, sub 5 seasons, we're in the perfect like wheelhouse for an anime length. I don't want to have to watch 200 episodes.
Mm-hmm. Like, watching 200 episodes of a serialized show, not great. I think some animes can get away with it when they're episodic anime.
Yeah.
But most people don't watch anime for episodic adventures. They watch it for long-running story stuff. But obviously that doesn't mean other ones don't exist. But if I'm watching a serialized show, yeah, I don't want a fuck ton of seasons.
Like, I think if Haikyuu had been what is it, 5 seasons and like 2 movies when I started Haikyuu.
You wouldn't have watched it, I know you.
I probably wouldn't have started. The fact that
Yeah.
Haikyuu was 2 seasons when I started,
Mhm.
a large part of the initial appeal of Haikyuu for me.
Fair.
Which is probably sad, because if I hadn't discovered Haikyuu until 2024, 2025, I probably wouldn't have never started it.
I mean, you probably would have, because I probably would have watched it anyways.
Yeah,
Because I was already interested in it before you, and you probably would have watched a few episodes with me, and I know you really like sports shit, so I probably would have made you watch it, and you probably would have gotten into it.
yeah.
It would have just taken you like 6 years to watch.
But like,
Not from like 6 years to start it, 6 years for you to get through
Mhm.
because of your watch habits.
Yeah, and like, it is unfortunate that I probably would have just skipped it if it wasn't for the fact that it was so short when I started it, or like somebody else pushed me into watching it, because it is one of my favorite animes. Like, I haven't seen the last movie yet, but like, Haikyuu in general is one of my favorite animes. A lot of fun.
Yeah, it's a
It's
good
like
show.
it's like how I finally sat down and watched all of Hunter x Hunter.
Also really good.
The ending is lackluster.
Almost like it's not the end of Hunter x Hunter, it's just the end of Gon's arc.
Yeah, well, give me more Hunter x Hunter anime, please. I'm willing to watch another 100 episodes if you like give me more Hunter x Hunter. I know we're supposed to get more manga this year for it, but
They just won't be Gon focused, which is fine.
the main character now is
Do you believe we're going to be following
Kurapika? Yeah, Kurapika.
in the Forest of Death? Death
Yeah.
Forest, whatever it is. Yeah. I just want us to get to the Leorio-based seasons in story arc.
Is there supposed to be Leorio based season?
Not that I know of, but I want it.
Are you working under the assumption that we're going to get...
We're going to work our way through the main cast.
Yeah, so we'll get Kurapika, Leorio, and Killua as primary...
Killua, maybe, maybe not. He feels like his is kind of resolved with the Gon thing. And I'd be fine with pairing up Leorio and Kurapika together because they have a fun vibe together. But I don't think that's going to happen with where Kurapika is as a character.
And then also getting a season for Biscuit.
She's not one of my original ones.
You're like, I don't care about the old woman in the
She's
kid's
not
body.
an OG. And
Yeah.
then we'll get an entire season about Gon's aunt.
I don't think so.
Yep.
Unless it's just her reading letters.
It's just going to be her reading letters. That's going to recap the entire series, and then we're going to end it. It's going to be everyone, even people she's not familiar with, writing her letters to explain their adventures.
That is my favorite bit for filler, is that most Hunter x Hunter filler episodes are framed as Gon's aunt reading letters he sent her about his adventures.
Yep.
Good filler.
Yeah.
It's easy to skip filler. You know, if the episode opens with his aunt reading a letter, you can skip it.
If you open to a house on Welltail Island, you can skip it.
Great. I think that's pretty much it as far as topics go for me.
Yeah, I'm good.
I guess we could get it. Yeah, it actually makes sense to talk about it. Sorry. Normally at this time of year, we're hyping up Gen Con because it's about time to register for your events.
Oh, yeah.
But we're probably not going to Gen Con this year.
Nope.
And so that is also true for
a fuck ton of tabletop RPG and board game companies.
Because unfortunately, a lot of them are cutting back on what they're doing and cutting back on publishing new games and cutting back on publishing games they're currently publishing.
Why would that be, Josh?
Well, you see, in the economics of board games and RPG development, the cheapest manufacturing hubs in the world are all almost exclusively located in China. So it makes sense for RPG companies to have their books printed there and then shipped to America, or have board game components developed in China.
Oh, so they should just switch to American companies, and it's fine.
Well, a couple games are, but even the best, most compatible game components that America has the industry to produce right now are cards.
Yeah, I'm aware.
But even that represents a 40 to 60% increase in cost.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not getting into printing for books or booklets or rules.
And an increased demand on these printers, who are then going to be charging more because they have more business. But also they're going to be charging more because they import a lot of their raw materials from foreign countries. Because even if a bunch of shit says made in America, sure, it might be assembled in America. But a lot of its raw material does not come from America.
Well, that's the thing. Even if it was raw material made assembled in America, made in America only means that at one point during the manufacturing of this product, part of it was assembled or put together or manufactured in America. A lot of vehicles will say, Ford specifically, made in America. But a lot of Ford shit is made in Canada.
Yeah, and then they shipped the car over and basically slapped wheels on it, and now it's made in America.
Yeah, but basically, the board game and RPG industry is being destroyed by 145% tariffs on their products because most of their products are developed in China and then shipped to America. And this came to a head in real life for me and my friends when one of my friends during a call was like, "Hey guys, did you see that Come On Games is having
Greater Than Games
is having a giant sale?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's because they laid off all of their employees and are no longer producing new stuff because tariffs." And he was like, "What? I just thought it was good deals."
No, it is good deals in a horrible circumstance.
Also, the board game company that develops Spirit Island,
Yeah.
also shuttering their doors temporarily, laying off all their employees. Yeah, I think that's Come On Games. I think Come On Games is...
They might be, yeah.
Which is insane, because Come On and Greater Than are both giant studios as far as board games go.
Yeah, they're both pretty big.
And if they're being forced to shutter...
Yeah, it fucking sucks.
It's like, I know Gloomhaven has a new edition that is completely done and ready for people to get, that people backed on Kickstarter, but all of the boxes and all the components are sitting in China.
Yep.
And they can't afford to pay to import it, because it went from being, I'm just going to use rough numbers, it went from being $10 million to now being $24 million. And they don't have the extra 14 million. And I actually think those numbers are pretty close to the ballpark of what it was.
Probably.
But yeah, so we're probably not going to Gen Con, and it wouldn't surprise me if this is not necessarily the last Gen Con. I think Gen Con could survive this one.
Yeah, probably.
But if there's 2 or 3 more like this...
Yeah.
Anyways, to end on that sad note, this has been Inside the Cockpit.
Catch you on the next flight. You know all the things that you can do to find us. Bye.